Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Center Stage Podcast. Today, I have a special guest with me in the studio. She's a strategic communication specialist. She's also a photographer and is a unique videographer, using her lens to tell different stories. Unlike the other guests that you've seen before with me in the studio, she is someone that I had known even before she came on Earth. I'd known her even when she was in the womb. And I've known her for a couple of years now. Why? She's my daughter. Oluwagbemi Sola Bolatito Fagbemi. You're welcome to Center Stage Podcast.
Thank you very much.
Today we'll be talking about lessons from different generations. And of course, I remain your host, Aunty Funke. So over to you, Sola. Let's talk about lessons from building one's career. What has really worked for you, and how have you navigated the modern career paths?
Okay, thank you very much for having me on the Center Stage podcast. What has worked for me in the past is I followed my passion, following things I'm passionate about, and just following things that I love, and that has led me in the right direction.
So when you say you follow your passion, what can you unpack that for us a bit? What do you mean by following your passion? Because there are a lot of people out there who are listening and who are watching this and would like to learn a lot from you.
Okay, thank you very much. So when I was about to leave university, actually many years before, when I was in secondary school, you bought me my first camera, a very small camera. And for me, I was passionate about capturing moments. And I did that with my camera at secondary school level until somebody spoiled it. And then when I went to university, I also had my camera and I was capturing moments with my friends and people that I always engaged with. And that made me feel happy. That made me feel at peace. And so what I did was I followed, that feeling that I had.
Why didn't you want to be a pharmacist like your mom?
That's a bizarre question.
What do you mean it's a bizarre question? I think because nowadays a lot of children follow, the paths of their parents.
But I did.
I'm a medical doctor like your dad.
But I did follow your path. You work in development, you work in communications, and I took those key skills and I took it and worked with it. So I did follow your path.
Okay, eventually you came around full circle. That's true. But let me talk about myself.
Okay.
I started out, and it's really interesting because we have a lot of people who went to university, got a qualification in a specific area, and eventually what they are practicing now is totally different, from what they're doing. And I think we can take a cue from that. But maybe taking a cue from what you said about your passion. And when I also reflect on my story, so of course I went to primary and secondary school, and then I went to university. And before university, my dad and my mom, we had that agreement because I was a science student. So I thought, yeah, I'm very intelligent and very bright. I want to be a doctor. So I want to be a doctor. I tried JAMB twice. My highest score was 211. Yeah, over 400, right? I can't remember. Yeah, at least I passed. It was 211. I could not get into medicine. And eventually, when I did it the second time, then at that time, there's this plan for you enter a course in prelim. We used to call the first year preliminary year.
Okay.
You enter a course in prelim as long as it's science or arts and it's still along where you hope to aspire to. And all you are asked to do is to pass very well those three main subjects. I think it was physics, chemistry, biology, and maybe English. Mm-hmm. And if you pass very well and you score above 70, then you can change to any course of your choice. So I entered for industrial chemistry. And I had never heard about industrial chemistry up till that point. I had to read about what industrial chemistry is. I had to understand what industrial chemistry is all about, right?
Yeah.
So I entered the University of Ibadan, the prestigious university in Nigeria. Anyway, I entered the University of Ibadan as a undergrad for industrial chemistry. And I studied really hard, to really make sure I passed with the goal of doing what? Moving to medicine. Guess what? I passed really well. When it was time to be released from industrial chemistry, they did refuse to let me go.
Wow.
Because I was one of the best students. Anyway, cut a long story short, when I was finally released, there was no slot again in medicine.
Wow.
The next best slot was pharmacy.
Pharmacy.
Yeah, and then, of course, what happened?
And that's how you dabbled your way into pharmacy.
I didn't dabble my way. I found my way to pharmacy. And I struggled a bit in my first 2 years in pharmacy because I joined them in the second year
Yeah.
and maybe a little late in the semester. But I graduated as a pharmacist, and in that time, I loved
What you did.
working
Yeah.
as a pharmacist. I loved that affiliation, but I hadn't found myself. So my passion was actually outside the scope, the professional scope of pharmacy. But somehow I found
Yes,
myself
so
there.
so allow me to ask you,
Mm.
what was your passion back then? What did you discover?
My dad's mom looked at me one day, many, many years ago, and said, let me say it how she said it to Yoruba. Ìwọ ọmọdé yìí, tí ìbá ṣe pé wọ́n rán ẹ lọ sí school, wọ́n máa jó tà ní. Meaning that you, this girl, if your dad did not send you to school, you'll be dancing on the streets for a living. I loved entertainment. I loved music. Anything that will make people happy and make
That was
people
you,
relax,
yeah.
encourage them, just make them share, network. That really was my passion. And I didn't know it. So I still pursued pharmacy profession. But one thing I really loved was talking to people, passing information, gisting, getting information. And somehow, eventually, I found my way into communication arts because the aspect of pharmacy I loved was community pharmacy. Yeah, people will come in, they'll come with their prescriptions and they'll get their medication. And a lot of people don't get the advice they need, the counseling they need to use their drugs right, to know which drugs interact, what to avoid, when to use the medication, what to guard against. So I used to do that a lot. And then I had a very small shop in Bodija in Ibadan, and I would have people queue up, because this pharmacy is the one we want to go, because that pharmacist will tell us what we want to hear. So eventually I was able to link that up with health communication because it's still talking to people, passing the information across. Who is the host here? Who is asking the question? I think that's me, right? Anyway.
Of course.
So you understand? So that's how eventually I made the connection back. So let's talk about career obstacles. As a young lady, excelling in your space, and we're all really proud of you, excelling in your space. What challenges have you been up against, and what have you done to overcome them?
Yeah, I think allow me to start by saying your story is very inspiring. And I think one crucial thing that you did point out is how your parents played a huge role in your life, sending you to school. Also, your dad's mother pointing out that we really need to go to school so you're not just fixated in that lifestyle. And which there's nothing wrong with the lifestyle. It's all about how can you get to where you want to be. So allow me to thank you for being a great role model and playing that role in my life as well. To answer your question about obstacle, I think it comes back to passion, right? You can be passionate about somebody or something, and then the world tells you, no, don't do it this way. No, don't have this person as your mentor. And I think as a young lady, that's one obstacle I face because there's so many people that, believe it or not, they want to play that role in your life. They want to be that voice to guide you. And really, how can you tell who should be that person that provides that guidance? And I think that is one key obstacle. And just being able to identify, this is a great mentor. This should just stay as a friend, and this should just be an acquaintance. I think that's an obstacle that I face. And I believe many young women out there would also face that as well.
I think for me, most of my own mentors have all been female. Somehow, they really have all been female. And they were way older than me. And maybe again, because the time I was growing up is really different from the times now. And young people like you are bolder, sometimes a little bit more aggressive, and they're go-getters, they go out and get what they want. But I think we were more reserved, more conservative, and sometimes we wait for help to come and get us.
True.
But I think for anyone listening to this podcast and you identify who you want to be a mentor for you, I think it's good to actually go get them, as long as you are sure that they align with your values and you are really, really sure that they're going to add, just some, how do I say it now? Value and worth, to who you are as a person.
And I think that's very interesting. You said go get them because sometimes I ask myself, how do I identify mentors? One, how do I reach them? How do I go to them? Do I just say, can you be my mentor? And I think there's so much learning my generation needs to do. Sometimes we're blessed to have people that says, come here, don't worry, I would be that voice,
support you, I'll help
be
you.
that person to support you. And I've been very blessed. But being able to speak up and say, be able to start us okay and say, can you be my mentor? I think that's also another obstacle.
Yeah. So in terms of navigating the landscape. I think the greatest obstacle, I won't say it's an obstacle, it has been a very unique experience, has been my name. So let me share one experience. So I applied many years ago to a UN agency and I was shortlisted for a role. And then when I was invited to go for the interview, you have to pass through hurdles of security and screening. So at the gate, there really wasn't an issue because my name was there.
Yes.
When I got to the interface to get into the office of that UN particular agency, then the person was a guy, looked at me and said, name? And then I said, my name is Baba Funke. I said, then looked at my name and said, he looked up and said, you are a woman. And the minute he said you are a woman, the way he said it, the authority with which he said it, my ego just went deflated. Yeah. So I passed that one and then I went and it was time to sit for the panel. And then the first thing they said again was, sorry, we're expecting a Mr. Baba Funke. I said, I'm sorry. There's no Mr. It's me. And the look on their faces, I can't forget. There were 3 or so on the panel. I knew I wasn't going to get it. So sometimes it's your identity, it's your name or the associations.
But even just being female, you know, I would say there's so much misogyny in the world, but then I do travel a lot. I've been privileged to travel. There's some countries, it's a free world. You know, you're a female, you're a male, you could identify as whatever you please, you know, but there's some other countries just by mere existing as, you know, a female, you tend to face discrimination. And also for me, that's another obstacle because like you said, it really demoralizes your spirit.
Yeah.
And sometimes you could just be standing and, you know, the way you're treated as being less than any other human being just because you're female, just because you're young, and maybe sometimes because you're African, you know, so I have come across those experiences, but for me, I'm able to move past them because of my experience growing up, just being able to learn how to be resilient. And also, like I said, it comes down to passion. When you do what you love, when you face obstacles, you can keep going.
So also in this space that we find ourselves, sometimes there's no limit to how much work you do. Sometimes you work round the clock. I work with people in my office. They are blessed. They are so committed. Wow. Sometimes they have to respond to some portfolios where they need responses on the go 24/7. So it's a bit difficult sometimes or challenging to be able to maintain that work-life balance. How have you been able to get that going? If you have been able to maintain the balance.
I feel like you asked me that question because you know I literally do not have a work-life balance. I have not been able to balance it. I would not lie, but I'm learning to. But I'm proud of the work that I've done because sometimes a lot of the times, I do believe in delayed gratification. And for me, delayed gratification sometimes can be 95% work, 5% life. But that's not sustainable. It's really all about knowing this is where I want to get to. And then you put in the work for the time being. And once you get to that point where you feel like, yes, now I can have that balance, then you work towards it. So that really has been my story. I've had to put in 95% work, 5% life. And like, you know, I've only seen you twice in how many years or maybe 3 times, but that hasn't been the most pleasant experience, but I had to put my work first and just eyes on the prize, stay focused, and then, you know, would make time for family when I can get to that point.
Yeah. So I think it's really important, but for everyone listening, I have a lesson to share. Sometimes the road to getting to where you want to get to is really tough and rough. But if you are able to, you know, put in the work, it's not about hard work. It's actually smart work. If you're able to put in the work and put in the passion and commitment, the very first opportunity that I got to be able to excel in this space was as an observer. There's something that we used to call observer status in those days of development. And what does that mean? You are invited to a space, but you don't have a right really to any amenity. So that means even things like tea break or snacks, you are not entitled to.
You just have to
but you have the opportunity to learn. So I went there with your senior brother, and he was still a baby at the time. I traveled to the place with your senior brother and my sister, who had to help me to take care of my baby. But not only did I put all of myself into it, I really excelled at the end of that. And if I had said, oh no, I won't get transport, it's going to be tough, I won't get per diem,
I'm not paid to be here.
I'm not even going to be fed. In fact, my food came from one of the facilitators who would divide up her ration into 2. She's of blessed memory now. She will divide up her ration into 2 and say, take this for yourself. And I will take that and give to my sister. And I'll feed myself on what other people are eating. Just look at what they are eating and I'm full. Because I was there for a reason and I was there for it.
Eyes on the prize.
So every young person, there are some levels of commitment that you cannot describe. Only you will know how much pain, and I mean that literally, how much pain you need to go through. But keep your eye on the prize. Honestly, you just keep your eye on it and keep going. As long as you are sure that this is the path you want to get on, you won't even know how you are going to get there. You will just open your eye one day and say, oh, wow, see how far I've come. And I hope that will be everybody's story at the end of the day. But just keep pushing, don't give up, don't give in, and just keep it up.
And I think what you said is great. Eyes on the prize. But there's
you said it. I picked it up. I think. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to pick it up from some point.
Okay.
But the point is, you said something when you're sure about what you want to do, and that's what I want to ask you. How can you get to that point of being certain that this is the career path I want to choose? Because honestly, like the world is, it's so global. We're all interconnected one way or another. There's so much you can do. I could be stuck in a house for 30 days. I have my phone. I could be making $1 million. So how do I balance, needs, wants, passion, and really my skill sets to be able to get to a point where I'm certain?
I don't think there's a straightforward answer to that, but I can tell you one thing that must not be missing. As long as what you're doing, you can find a seed of your talent or passion. Identify that there's a seed of your talent or your passion, your innate, not the one that you inherited, not the passion that you picked up along the way, but something that is really intrinsic to who you are.
Are you throwing sub?
I'm not throwing sub.
You said that you picked up. No, I picked up my passions from you.
No, but you had that talent in you. Nobody taught you how to pick up a lens. You didn't go to school for photography originally. That's what I mean. So it's an interest. And it might also interest you. I don't even know if you know. My first camera was bought for me on my 10th birthday by my dad. It was a gold-plated Fuji, no Fuji film. You don't know Fuji film. Fuji camera. You understand? Kodak camera that used Fuji film at that time. And that was how I loved photography. In fact, I was called the detective of the house. Anything happening, they know me. I will take a picture already there. But there was an incident I can't talk about it right now, where I almost got myself into trouble, but I had evidence of what happened. Anyway, so we're talking about how you know. So that talent and passion must be intrinsic to who you are. You must love it. And it's also the same thing that the concept of Ikigai talks about. And I hope anybody that hasn't heard about Ikigai, Ikigai, can take time and read about it, because it says those 4 areas of your life must be connected for you to be sure of why you are here on earth and what your mission of accomplishment will be. Okay. Any final words for people who are looking at both of us and saying, oh, wow, I love this mother-daughter relationship and needs to know what to do, aspiring to be, someone that has a promising future, wants to, be able to help other people, because that's also part of what you do. I see that a lot in you, helping other young people, putting them on the right path. What message do you have for young boys and young girls?
But that's a very intense question. What message do I have for young boys, young girls? I feel like you should have told me about this question before I came here, but I'll try my best. I'll say 3 things. Consistency. If you're running a race, 100 meters, if you stay on a particular pace, you're likely going to get to the finish line. That doesn't make any sense. But what I'm trying to say is you have to be consistent in what you're doing. And I think that what I was trying to say with the race is you can only go far when you stay on the grind. Some days will be extremely slow. Some days will be extremely fast. Your pace fast, your pace slow. But you need to be as consistent as possible. I think secondly, stay passionate and just fall in love with the work that you do. Honestly, I love the work that I do. I've never, ever been at that place where I ask myself, like, am I even enjoying this thing, So always pick or try to be in the space that you're so passionate about that it gives you life, it adds colors to your mind, And the last thing I want to say is just have good mentors. In my case, I have a good mother. My dad of blessed memory, whose birthday is today, by the way. Fatima's birthday. I had two great people in my life, always just being there for me and being that encouraging figure. There's nothing I didn't want to try that my father and my mother did not encourage me to do. So what I'll say to you is try to surround yourself by people that love and believe in you. Sometimes it's hard for us to believe in ourselves. It really is. But if you have people around you that say you can do it, what is stopping you? Or just try, just go for it. Not naysayers. I think we can go far.
Thank you very much, Oluwagbeni Sola. Thanks for spending time with us today. We know you are very busy, but we are happy that you're able to make time.
I'm not that busy.
You're not that busy. No. Okay. So thank you so much, and we wish you all the best. And to everybody out there, just keep honing your skills. Yeah. Just keep your eye on the prize. Yeah. And we're sure that we'll see you all at the top.